Hi, and welcome to part 2 of this week's TV Coast to Coast. We visited HBO's Olive Kitteridge in part 1, and now we're on to 3 different reality series here in part 2. The plan is for Portland's Christy Turnquist to take on Top Chef. I'll bounce back to preview the new Fix My Choir, and New Jersey's Vicki Hyman will wrap it up by talking about her state's gift to the TV gods, the Real Housewives of New Jersey. You'll want to stick around for that. But first, Christy and Top Chef. Christy, I covered the last season of Top Chef like it was a Zapruder film, but it's been dead to me ever since they left New Orleans. How's it going this time around?
Well, the new season, season 12, is set in Boston. People here in Portland are interested in it because we have 2 Portland chefs on the show. This is actually the first time we've had Portland chefs on sort of the mothership Top Chef. We've had people on the spin-off Top Chef Masters, but for a city as kind of proud of its culinary innovation and its food scene as Portland, it's been fun to see the Portland chefs. And I'll tell you, to me, one of the best aspects of these competition reality shows like Top Chef is seeing how the professionals respond to challenges that test their time management, problem solving, and they're, playing nicely with others' skills. Do they let their egos take over, or do they focus on what they need to do and the best way to do it? But I will say one of the irritating aspects of these competition reality shows is when producers get addicted to conflict, and the contestants with short fuses and inflated senses of their own worth get more than their share of camera time, even if their skills maybe are not the best. Now, what we're seeing so far in Top Chef, which is underway on Bravo, it's early, but we're already seeing some of its strengths and those weaknesses. The competitors include, as I mentioned, 2 Portland chefs, Gregory Gourdet and Doug Adams, and they're a competent group. Gourdet certainly has emerged as a front-runner. But we've also been seeing a lot of a chef named Aaron Grissom, who is clearly being positioned as this season's divisive hothead. And this is such an old reality show cliche, I wish they'd drop it. If I wanted to see a lot of time wasted on overblown, interpersonal relationships, I'd be watching Survivor. So for me, I'm hoping that this season of Top Chef keeps the focus on the good stuff, which to me is the chef's culinary battles, and leaves the drummed up personal rivalries, on the pantry shelf. That's what I'm thinking. Dave, what do you have to say about Fix My Choir?
Well, there's some interesting parallels here because it's an Oxygen show in which Michelle Williams and Dietrich Haddon travel the country and fix choirs. They're choir doctors. And they basically walk into what is a room full of divas who are trying to perform collectively. The premise plays like a lot of soft reality. There's an ambush as the hosts enter and introduce themselves. And then there's a reveal late in the episode. In Wednesday's season opener, which happens to be set in New Orleans, the reveal is a performance by the Patched Up Choir. Williams and Haddon diagnose each week's subject choir, discovering plenty of interpersonal drama to be enjoyed around all the sweet sounds. There's a lot of dysfunction here, but also some really talented and committed people who want to get their personal issues fixed and out of the way so they can do what they really love to do, which is to sing. Williams and Haddon are the stars, both of this show and in their own individual performance spheres, and they bring their tough love to these choirs from a place of genuine authority. Check out the YouTube video for Rather Be. Google Rather Be. It's really cool. And they're great as hosts of this. There are quite a few rescue shows out there for businesses and bars and restaurants, but none of them sound anything like this one. Speaking of dysfunction, what's up with your Real Housewives, Vicki?
Well, everybody knows that reality television is a misnomer. It's an enhanced reality, a manipulated reality, and sometimes even an all-out fake reality. And this season of Real Housewives of New Jersey was a pretty prime example of that because we had the breakout star of the series, Teresa Giudice, there are 10 million ways to say her name, facing 41 counts of bankruptcy, bank, mail, wire fraud. And spoiler alert, she got 15 months in the federal pen. She goes off January 5th. But basically, she just kind of refused to discuss it throughout the season. And the few times she and her husband had to make mention of it, it's clear the producers were basically training a gun on her in order to do it. And she also asked all of her castmates not to discuss it either. And so the so-called drama of the season was other stuff beyond that, when clearly there is this incredibly interesting riveting story that just sort of nobody gets to discuss. It's kind of ridiculous. But the reunion shows, the season ended a couple of weeks ago, and now we're in the middle of the reunion shows. And there was a really interesting exchange about the nature of at least this franchise, or possibly even about reality television in general, where host and producer Andy Cohen mentioned that the show seemed to play a big part in one of the rifts between two of the housewives, and Teresa jumps in and says, "Oh, I'm glad you said that. It's about time you admit something, because the show does a lot of things," like blaming the show. And Andy says, "But you don't have to be on the show with your sibling and your sister-in-law and fight with them," which is kind of precisely the point. Like, if you don't want to talk about your drama, maybe you shouldn't be on reality television. You know, I can talk about the Real Housewives until the cows come home, so I'm just going to leave it at that. Dave, how are you going to wrap it up for us?
Great stuff. Thank you both very much, Vicki and Christy. That's it for TV Coast to Coast this week. Thanks, everybody, for watching, and we'll see you back here next week. Bye-bye.